say that. Royal Voluntary Service, Virtual Village Hall. Morning. Hope you're having a good morning. You're all ready to be a bit creative and have some fun. Scribbling this morning on this beautiful sunny morning. Let's just get this down. There you go. Beautiful sunny April day, and we're the 21st of April, and on the 23rd of April is Shakespeare's birthday. And also the day of his death, although obviously not the same day. So I thought that today we will be doing we'd do some writing about plays and the theatre. And that topic can go as broad as you like. So if you are someone who loves the theatre and has been to see lots of plays and maybe acted in plays, you'll have lots to write about. If you're not somebody who goes very often, you will almost certainly have had some experience in school of acting, surely. I know we've covered some of this topic before in our school days. I mentioned at the time that I should have been Archangel Gabriel, and I was robbed of the role because I was off sick with a cold, and when I came back, they'd given it to somebody else. So there you go. So don't forget to pop a comment in if you want to say good morning to us, if you've got a little bit of writing that you want to share, some of the ideas if you want to share them in the comments, and then other people can also use those as prompts. That's always a great thing for people to do. So what are we on? 2 minutes past 11. I'm going to start with a quick warm-up activity. Right, so what I have noticed is in my writing groups, I give a writing prompt and people do what they like anyway. So you feel free. You're free to do that, obviously. My initial thought was if you wanted to list words that were related to Shakespeare, that might not be a very long list. Could be as plays, anything, any thoughts. GCSE Macbeth, that's what was my first experience of Shakespeare. Knowing experience of Shakespeare. Things you've seen at the theatre, things you've acted in at the theatre, plays you've seen on TV, anything you like. Just 5 minutes just to get us warmed up. A list of anything theatre related. I'll put the ticker on because, as you know, I like the sound of a ticking clock. Forces you to write quickly and not overthink things. So there's the clock on. Off you go, 5 minutes on the theatre. The theatre lovies. you just want to finish off your list. Morning, Sarah. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to know who's out there. And if anyone else is out there and wants to say hello and tell us where you're listening in from, please do. Okay, so yeah, I've got more memories than I thought, actually, in my list. Some of them Shakespeare related, some of them not. I could have carried on for ages on that one, but never mind. Here we go. So the biggest thing is, some years back, when I was doing some research for a creative writing project, I discovered that my six times great-grandfather was a Victorian playwright called John Courtney. He didn't make loads of money, and he was bankrupt a few times, and his family ended up in the poorhouse after he died. But there you go. He was writing at the same time as Charles Dickens, but in the less fashionable, for the less fashionable theatres that Dickens appeared in. Already mentioned. Now, was it called GCE in those days? GCE or GCSE? GCSE, Macbeth, O-level Macbeth. First time I studied Shakespeare, and we had a trip to the Haymarket Theatre in Leicester to see it, and I knew the story so well that I got up at half-time thinking that was the end. And then the teacher said, "Where are you going, Alison? I've got another half." I've seen A Midsummer Night's Dream lots of times, once in the open air, somewhere local to here, and that was fabulous. Again at the Haymarket in my 20s, and once at the Nottingham Theatre Royal. So there's a couple of stories related to that, which I won't bore you with. I also saw Julie Walters and is it Bernard Shaw from Boys from the Black Stuff? They were in Macbeth at the Leicester Haymarket. And I remember for a little while afterwards doing my Lady Macbeth impression with Julie Walters in a West Midlands accent, Lady Macbeth. That was a dreadful accent. A visit to Stratford-on-Avon when I was in my 20s, and we went to a beautiful summer evening. We went to see a play in the theatre that was made is it called In the Round? Very, as it would have been in Shakespeare's time. Beautiful, beautiful theatre. And I've been to Stratford since, but never seen Shakespeare there, which would be a nice thing to do. The plays that I wrote for my primary classes as a teacher, I wrote a play about Eid once that must have had, I'm going to say 300 people viewed it. It may have been less. I'm not sure how many we could hold in the hall, but we showed it several times. And we had a standing ovation. The children had a standing ovation at the end. So I'm going to claim that as me being a playwright and a success. Lots and lots of amateur dramatic productions I've seen in my hometown and town hall. Some excellent, some not so good. I went to see Oliver in London with my cousin Rachel, probably 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And so if you love musicals, I do apologise, but I do think there were too many songs in it. Why spoil a good story? Why spoil a good play with so many songs? So yeah, so that's me, a Philistine. And then the only time I've ever been in a play, there was having to be an angel but not Gabriel, because I was robbed of the part when I was 6. And when I was 12, we did a play at secondary school where I played the Sunshine, which involved me wearing a yellow dress and being sparkly. That's the extent of my theatrical experience. Although, I do come from a family of people who are quite dramatic. My mum could have gone to RADA as a young person, but decided not to in the end. Okay. So I hope you had a really good list. Anybody want to pop anything from their list in the comments, please do. That would be lovely to see what things you came up with in your list. Now, what you could do, if you've got a list of useful prompts there, is pull out one of the things from your list and write it into a story. I could pick any one of those. I've definitely written about the trip to see A Midsummer Night's Dream before at the Nottingham Theatre. Morning, Irene. Nice to see you. Nice to see you this month. Yeah, so some of these I've written about before. Probably not. I've written about them going to Stratford when I was 25. But I could write something new. And again, you could write it as a memory or as a fictional piece. I might have a go at writing something fictional today. Or if none of the things that you wrote down or any of the things that I've shared sparked a creative idea for you, I've got some other prompts. We're on 11:15. So I've got the first time I saw Shakespeare. I've done that one. Have you ever been to Stratford? If so, tell us about it. When did you go? Who were you there with? Were you there to see the theatre? Did you see the theatre? Did you go to Shakespeare's home? I looked inside once and it was very expensive, so I didn't go in. So that's on my list of things to do, perhaps this year. Now we've opened up again. Go to Stratford and do all the museums, doesn't matter how much they cost. Do you have a favourite Shakespeare play or sonnet? Have you got a favourite Shakespeare fact? So here's one that always tickles me. And Caroline Duffy wrote a poem about it. But Shakespeare, when he died, left his wife his second best bed. What did he do with the best bed, is the question. Have you ever acted? Are you someone who likes to act? And if so, tell us a bit about it. Write a little bit about that. When was the first time you acted? As a child, as an adult? Lots of times or just once? Have you ever written a play? And again, although you may not remember it, you will probably very definitely have written a play at school, because it's one of the things that teachers make children do ad infinitum, whether they want to or not. But it could have been an experience you blocked and not want to talk about. Morning, Hazel. Welcome. I hope it's a lovely day in Dorset. Nice to see you here. All right. Okay. So I'm going to 10 minutes maybe on this one. 10 minutes on the clock. I will stop talking and babbling again. Right. Choose a topic. Anything to do with plays and playwriting. And 10 minutes writing about something. Just got 1 more minute left just to finish off the little bit that you're on. Okay, if you want to just finish off, I'll finish mine. Hang on, I'm nearly with you. Okay, I need a finishing sentence on this, but I can't think of one. But I'll read you what I've got. And again, if you've written anything you want to share with us, your best sentence maybe, or just a sentence telling us what you've written about, would be lovely. Okay, so I've gone with the Oliver story, the trip to Theatreland, which must have been about 25 years ago, I think. Yeah, a little bit longer, in fact. Trying to think how old my cousin's little girl is, and she's 30. So I live in the East Midlands, and though my mum was from London, born in the East End, but living in Dagenham at the time she moved here in her teens, we next to never went there to visit. It was almost as if, having found safety at last away from bombs and her broken childhood, Mum had little wish to revisit either the place or the memories. Or it could just have been that with 6 children and a working man's wage, my parents couldn't afford to take us there. And I've not been a particularly intrepid traveller myself since. Can count the times on one hand that I visited London. So going there to meet my cousin and see the musical Oliver was a big deal. I didn't actually wear a straw hat and chew a blade of grass as I travelled in on the train, but I certainly felt like I should have. It was a matinee performance we went to see, and my cousin had paid for the tickets. My treat, she said excitedly, and we were to have a backstage tour after the show. But I was to discover I'm not really a fan of musicals, despite having grown up wanting to be Debbie Reynolds. I tried to be as discreet as I could, counting back the songs in the programme to see how much longer it would be until the end of the performance. But, I stopped there. It needs a finishing sentence. But when she asked me, did you enjoy the show? I might have said, why spoil a good play with songs? I can't remember actually saying that. I might have done, maybe not. she was a little disappointed, I think, if I remember correctly. But as it said, I can create the ending that I want to, whether I said it or not. If I added that to it, would make it a funnier piece, I think. The backstage tour was very interesting, and the way that I was amazed at the way the stage slopes to the front, so that you can see the cast at the back when they're performing, which is really interesting. And Robert Lindsay was Oliver, and he was very good. But I can't remember anybody else who was in it because I was so busy ticking off the songs, thinking 3 more and we're done. Anyway, that was my story. I hope you managed to get something useful from yours. And as I say every time, if you want to post your written pieces in the comments afterwards, this Facebook Live the recording will be in the feed forevermore, and it would be lovely to see any written pieces afterwards. Right, okay, so back to Shakespeare. Should we go back to Shakespeare? Oliver was obviously Dickens, who also wrote plays and performed. He was a closet actor, wasn't he? And actually did work the stage for a little in his youth. If you've read, I think it's Nicholas Nickleby, where there's a fantastic chapter in it about the Travelling Theatre Company in Portsmouth, and some of that is based on Dickens's experiences. And I used some of that. I ended up writing about my ancestor, when I did that research. But Shakespeare, it's Shakespeare's birthday. Let's get back to Shakespeare. Here is his famous speech from the play As You Like It, which I don't think I've ever seen. I always end up seeing Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream. Yeah, Macbeth or Midsummer Night's Dream. I would quite like to see something else. This is the All the World's a Stage speech from As You Like It. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. Oh God, yeah, it's very tiny writing. His acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history in second childishness and mere oblivion. Son's teeth, son's eyes, son's taste, son's everything. Wow, so there you go. All the world's a stage. And as people on that stage, we have the 7 stages of life. I love the cyclical nature of that. You begin as a child and you end going back towards childishness. In baggy pants, putting away your youthful clothes. And yeah, I recognise that in a minute. I've been buying shoes. I made the mistake of going out in court shoes last week and having to walk quite a way. And my legs and feet particularly knew about it for a while. So yeah, I'm probably in that, heading definitely into that 6th stage. Baggy pants and flat shoes. So, I was thinking, my mum, as I said, got a place at RADA, but instead came up to live in the East Midlands. Her family had come up to the East Midlands and she couldn't afford to live and go to RADA as a young teenager on her own in London. And maybe she was missing her family too. But her life was very dramatic. We were a very dramatic family. We have drama. We don't do things quietly. We have drama in our lives. Everything's a drama. And often in life, there are bits of our everybody's life stories that people will say, wow, that should be in a book. Or that'd make a great play. I'm always saying that. When something funny happens, I will end up saying, that's going to be in my television series. But in truth, I will never write it, probably, which is a shame. There's some very dramatic moments. So, if you want to do a memoir piece, I was thinking, have you had some drama in your life that people have said to you, wow, who'd have thought that would happen? Or that sounds like something from the telly. Or have you witnessed things that you've been there when something extraordinary has happened that would make a great film or a great play? Or you could write, if you want to, you could write something dramatic. If you have no memoirs or you don't want to write anything memoirish, write a fictional piece, a piece of drama. And if you wanted to, you could write it in play form. Just do it as characters speaking. Dialogue's really cool to write. And yeah, I think that was it. Or anything that's sparked by that poem, really. The cyclical nature. What stage of life are you in? Of the 7 stages that Shakespeare says is played out upon the stage. Are you in the youthful bits where you're taking on the world and wanting to right the rights for everybody? Are you the lover? Are you the respectable magistrate or equivalent? Are you in the baggy pants and flat shoes brigade like me? Whatever any of that sparks for you. Another 10 minutes. We've got 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Ooh. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to write a dramatic piece of some sort from your own life and something you've witnessed, or a fictional piece. Off you go. 10 minutes on the clock. 2 more minutes just to finish a little bit your own. Okay. Let's finish that sentence. What are we on? 10 minutes. Okay, so I ended up writing a script. Very rough. I do apologise, it's very rough, and there'll be some facts in it I'm going to need to go and check on. But it is as it is, first draft. Once you've got it out, you've got something to work on and tidy up. So here we go. And I also don't know what the name of the person would have been who might have interviewed my mum for RADA, or even what her interview was like. So it's completely fictional, this piece. Scene. Slim, brown-haired young woman of about 16 performs The King Asked the Queen and the Queen Asked the Dairymaid. That was one of her pieces. The King Asked the Queen and the Queen Asked the Dairymaid. Could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread? I, A.A. Milne. Director. What made you choose that piece? May. I don't know, really. I've known it since childhood. It's one of my favourites. Director. And have you performed it before? May. Only to my little brother and sister, and my cousins. Sometimes, when we go hop picking. Director. Hop picking? Yeah, in Kent. The little uns get in the way sometimes, and I do some of the poems from that book to keep them out of trouble. It was my aunt said I was good at it and should try to get in here. Director. Well, she wasn't wrong. You have a talent, raw, but it's there. And if we offered you a place here at RADA, would you be in a position to take it? May. I beg your pardon, sir, I'm not sure I understand. Director. I mean, Do you have the financial wherewithal to support yourself while studying here full time? Did you say you were currently working? May. Yes, I work in an umbrella shop in Westminster. Director. And are you living at home with your parents? May. No, I live with my aunt and her family. So there you go. There's the beginning. Again, I hope you had something useful from that it prompted some creativity for you. You managed to get a piece of something to do with the theatre. I've got messages. Sony, hello, thank you. Thank you. Some comments about my hair. I wear flat shoes, but my hair's not too bad. That's swings and roundabouts. Right, okay, and the last thing. So, Shakespeare's a real money earner for people who publish books. I've got a little collection here, my favourites. So this is the one I bought. I no longer have, I would imagine the Macbeth that I looked at when I was 15, when I was studying for my O-level, would have been a school copy. But when I went to university as a mature student in my late 20s, I bought that one. So I've had that for 600 years because that's so old, I think. That's the Shakespeare I used in my 20s when I finally managed to get to uni. I've got this one, which a friend gave me. There you go. Doodling for bookworms. So you can go on. I love that little picture of Shakespeare. Doodle prompts and creative exercises. I should maybe have used one of these. But there you go. Maybe that's me on the back sitting. My bookshelf's not that tidy, so I picked this one up in a second-hand bookshop. I love second-hand bookshops. And if you know Bill Bryson, and you like Bill Bryson, you might enjoy this. This is definitely worth reading. Bill Bryson's gone through all hundreds of books about Shakespeare and pulled together what we really, really know about him. And actually, factually, we know very, very little. So he's done a good job of weighing up. Some people think this, and it might not be right because it's very likely that this, but actually there's very, very little documentary evidence about him, even as to the date that he did and didn't die and wasn't born. So we'll ignore that, seeing as we're celebrating the anniversary now. I've got 6 minutes left. And this, my daughter and her partner bought me this for Christmas, and it is very funny, very fab also, and also a great picture. That's one of the few pictures of Shakespeare, and again, they're not even entirely certain that is actually him, but it's believed it probably is. But look, it's one of these things that are all different words. Oops. Taken from Shakespearean plays, insults, and you can flick them round. You apish, bold-pated abomination was the first one. Obviously in alphabetical order, I only just noticed that. And I have used this with my writing group to much hilarity. Let's have a look. So I'm flicking it through. There you go. I've ended up with, as an insult for someone. Today's insult, you heinous, hollow-eyed codpiece. 3 minutes. Heinous means outrageously wicked, odious and atrocious. Hollow-eyed is obviously having sunken eyes like those of a cadaver, a body, which harks back to the speech that I read earlier, sans eyes. And a codpiece was a pouch worn by men in front of tight hose or breeches. And men used to wear bigger ones than they needed to show off. If you think of the portraits of Henry VIII. So, what did I say it was? Heinous. Oh, I've lost it already. Heinous something codpiece. Sunken-eyed codpiece, wasn't it? Can you work that into something in 3 minutes? 2 minutes, only 2 minutes. A sentence with that in. And if you do, put it in the in the comments. Yes. Okay, just finish it off. Okay. Ooh, running out of time. Oi, you, I said one sentence and I've done more than one. Oi, you heinous, sunken-eyed codpiece, the workman shouted to the man who'd taken a shortcut through the barriers around the trench and in doing so kicked over his flask of tea. You what-eyed what, his colleague stated from the depths of the hole, halting in digging around the ancient sewer pipe that had cracked and needed repair. Just channeling my inner Shakespeare, the first man said. Might be something to do with this. And he held up a bone he'd just uncovered. There you go. Best I could do. I managed to get something. Alrighty, that's us done. 12 o'clock, time to stop. Thank you for joining me this morning. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you've got any bits of writing you want to post in the comments for me to look at later, that would be fab. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next month. Bye.